Welcome back to another episode of the LanceScurv podcast. We have a distinguished set of guests here today, and we're going to speak about building awareness-based accountability, the Baba Collective. We have some guests that are going to be coming back on when they adjust their phone. We have Brother DEMETRICS McCAULEY and Brother Jamil Abdul Joyner, and they're going to explain to us what this wonderful, powerful, very necessary movement is about. And I welcome you in on the show, brothers. I'm glad you're here, and I know you're full of information, and I want to hear everything about it from the very beginning. Explain it first and tell us how you got into it all the way. And it is what it is.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, thanks for having us on, Brother Lance.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You say the first thing you asked was how did it start?
Yes. Well, even before that, like,
Yes,
tell us about yourself in a way that would let us know your spirit, which I know your spirit, but how you before. It's almost like when you see a superhero, Spider-Man or something, you want to know how he got that way. You know what I mean? What's the origin? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and that would lead us and segue us into this particular movement.
Yes, sir. Like many of us, I was a child of a single parent. I had a mother who worked very hard. It was 7 of us total. I had 3 brothers, 3 sisters. She worked hard, set a great example, great work ethic. Despite being a child of the crack era, my mother never went down that lane. My mother never got welfare or whatever. She just worked hard and set a great example. However, I'm from a very small community called Charleston community. I grew up in de facto segregated black and white side of town. It's a impoverished old farm community. And what was something that was unique about my community is once we hit middle school, they separated us at school. You had academic, and then you had general. They separated the classes. I was one of 3 black males in all academic classes. And I faced a lot of, school was easy for me. It was never interesting. And the teachers made it difficult. Ultimately, I got off the right path and I got certified as an adult at 15 for first-degree murder of a young white wife and mother. Her race had nothing to do with the shooting, but it had everything to do with the response because I was acquitted for it. I was acquitted for it less than 30 days later. O.J. Simpson was acquitted. And Lance, you old enough to remember 1995, had the entire country and the world divided along racial lines.
Oh, yes.
Said he was not guilty. White folks said he was, right? So when he was acquitted, all that hatred and vitriol fell on my shoulders, and me being this rural small town. Got expelled from school. Before I knew it, I got right back on the same track. Committed another homicide less than a year later. This time, despite being by myself, I had a co-defendant who the police literally put on the case with me. I guess they wanted to ensure that I wouldn't get away with it again. We were both subsequently sentenced to life in prison. I began at Potosi Correctional Center, which was Missouri's death row camp. That's where I first met Lonnie Lockhart Baker. He was also a juvenile serving life at Potosi death row camp. And what was unique about Potosi was it was overtly racist. It was all white staff. And at the time I was there, and Lonnie's number would even be higher because he was there before I was. I was there 5 years. They executed 30 men in those 5 years. So that's every other month. And Potosi is unique in that it's the only place in the entire world where death row offenders are in population. They're not put up somewhere. So they're your neighbors, they're your cellmates, they're your brother, they become your brothers and your comrades. And to have them execute these men with such frequency and to do so with such glee, and Lonnie will bear witness, they used to dress down on execution day. They didn't wear their uniforms. They wore their street clothes like a holiday. They would have pizza parties, fish fries, barbecues, on execution day. Meanwhile, for us, we didn't even go eat out of solidarity. That evening meal, we didn't care what they served. No one went to eat it. But it was just, it created a dichotomy where in hindsight, I was so young and what I was experiencing, despite being guilty and needing to be there, because I can readily admit I needed to be there. It was so challenging from a psychological level where the only thing that I could look for that to only possibly give me some hope was our ancestors. And I began to kind of feed off the hatred of the staff. And there was a lot of brothers in the community that was breathing on young brothers and encouraging young brothers to read. And I began to go down that path. And initially just to find a glimmer of hope, someone who could possibly relate to how maddening that environment was. And it was my ancestors, the only one who I could possibly think could relate to it. And the more I learned about our community story, the greater the sense of shame I felt for who I had become in the ignorance or the absence of the information I was now receiving. I felt like I got tricked, and it made me want to learn more. And even though I couldn't see a way out, I had the hope that what if I get out? You tricked me the first time. You got me before my mind was even fully developed, and I made irrational decisions based on the limited information I had, and I crashed out essentially. But now I realize that a game had been played on me because of the information that placed in my mind. So I had been programmed. Now I wanted to be in charge of the program. So I began to just study any and everything that would allow me to have some clarity on what we face as a community. And I also watched brothers come in and out over and over. And I would literally interview them. What happened? What did you run into? Because I didn't want to run into it if I did make it to that point. Eventually, my 18th year, and I just studied, but my 18th year, I came across Napoleon Hill, and that's what really brought me to the Bible Collective. He shared two quotes that really struck a chord with me. The first was, men go down in permanent defeat or rise to heights of attainment of stupendous proportions according to the manner in which they use their past experiences as the basis of working plans. And the second one was that every adversity had within it the equivalent benefit. I had known, the first taught me that, dang, through all of that turmoil, through all of that trial, that there was a basis of working plans in there somewhere. Like it was incumbent upon me to pay attention. Even though I didn't know where that studying would take me, it had that far brought me to that point. Now I realize it's a basis of working plans in there somewhere. Not only is it a plan in there, it's a plan that's equal to the equivalent benefit of the devastation that incarceration had, quote unquote, had on my life. But by my 18th year, I was already free because I was accountable to everything I did, right? So I was still free. So I put the two together and I recognized that if, just like it was a lesson in me, for me and my experience, the equivalent benefit of the devastation of the prison industrial complex, that the impact that it has on our community, because it wasn't just me, it was Big Lonnie and it was 100 others. He could attest to it. There was so many, most of the lifers I knew were young men. They either were juveniles or just turned 18, just turned 19, young men who didn't have a clue really and crashed out and was all there. Now we couldn't all be accidentally ending up in the same area, right? This wasn't all the accident. And one of the things I began to notice is not only we had similar stories, but those of us who had begun to move differently had adopted similar behaviors. We all had begun to study. Even when I came home, I looked, and the brothers who was out here building was the brothers who was in their building, right? And time is the greatest resource that any of us could have. And you put the two together, we have absolutely no infrastructure in place whatsoever currently to counter the impact of the prison industrial complex. The Baba frameworks gives us that infrastructure. It really allows us to use that infrastructure that's already built, already fully funded, already scheduled with the inhabitants or the future leaders of our community. And all we need is to make a decision to force them to use that time to really reprogram their mind and realign with the family and the community and move our community forward. And that's the Bible framework. It's come from lived experience of what worked for myself, what worked for Big Lonnie, what worked for Jamil, what worked for Malcolm X, and what worked from so many millions of brothers all across the country. We just, as a community, hasn't paid attention and systemized. This is what this is. An opportunity to make that change systematic as opposed to accidental.
Wow, powerful.
And I know I said a lot.
No. You're going to. I mean, you're a powerful brother. There's a lot of power in this room now. I'm gonna go down the line. I see you, Lockhart. We're gonna come to you. Jamil Abdul Joyner, anything you want to add on, which brought you to this point with us being on the show, speaking about this? Tell us about yourself.
Well,
Yes, sir. Most
go
definitely.
ahead.
So I came from a household of Black consciousness. My mother, father, grandmother, aunts, uncles, and stuff. They initially were in a Shrine of Black Madonna. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Shrine of the Black Madonna. And from there, they went to the Nation of Islam. So I came up or was nourished in the environment of self-empowerment, do for self, love for self. And so I had that as a basis. But like most of my peers, growing up in an environment where people are unlike what I just spoke of, I've done other than myself, but at the age of 14, my father had got incarcerated when I was like 3 years old. But he got out when I was like 14, and I was able to meet and be in company with a man. And I started trying to pattern myself after that. And so my dad was a businessman. He passed away when I was 18. And so I was left at 18 with multiple properties under my leadership. I was left with businesses under my leadership. And I was handling those things successfully. And along came Katrina, because I was in New Orleans, Louisiana at the time. And Katrina disrupted my whole world. And I ended up going to jail, me and 3 other brothers that were with me, who also worked in the clothing store and stuff with me. And we were arrested for 2 attempt murders on police officers. And so we did about a year and was released. And then later on, they came back and brought the charges back up. So I came to prison a little differently because I feel like a lot of my peers had to kind of learn themselves or grow up in prison. I had already matured to some degree. And so when I went there, I just knew that I knew where I stood. I knew what I wasn't going to be on. I knew what I wasn't going to do. And so even in there, I was a part of helping add and build to the culture around me. And so I've been out like 2 years now, and I just bumped into Brother DEMETRICS a couple months ago. We met in February. And so from that point, running my little store with him, he just said I fit the mold perfectly, because he needed, or we need brothers like myself who come from that background of prison, but who aren't bound by it. We also need brothers who are ready to reach back and help assist. So I basically fit that mold and ready to do all I can to help aid.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I can't
Brother
hear.
Lockhart Bay, the Moorish. Talk to us, brother. Brother Lockhart, I don't know if you can hear me.
Us can't.
Yeah.
There he is.
Brother
Now
Lockhart.
I thought.
Yeah, he might not. I don't know what. Let me see here. Okay, he's unmuted. Talk to us, Brother Lockhart, Bay. Okay, maybe he's here, but
Here y'all.
speak
Maybe
to
the
us, brother.
area he's in.
It might
Yeah,
have to.
it could be the internet signal.
Huh?
Hello.
It could be the internet because everything from my end is good.
Can y'all hear me?
Oh, yes, yes. There you go, brother. Talk to us. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, maybe his
It gotta be the internet because we just heard him.
connection.
Lockhart,
Is
come
the
and talk
mouth
to us,
move?
brother. I don't know if he can hear us. Everything on
I-
my end is good.
He might have to come out, go out and come back in.
Yeah.
That's what I
Let
had
me,
to do.
I might have to do that. Let me see here. Let me just check the mic settings for him. Okay, he's back. Okay, let me do something with this screen. Bring him back in. Add the stage. Brother Lockhart, we couldn't hear you for a while, so can you hear us?
It's stacking a little bit, but it just stopped.
Yeah, Brother Lockhart. Talk to us, brother.
Yeah.
I grew up in St. Louis in the 90s.
Can't hear the
Part
mouth.
of the gangbang
Yeah,
era.
your sound is a little muffled, brother. Your sound is a little muffled. Like it's
Sounds
in and out. So bring it closer.
Can y'all hear him, Jamil?
okay.
Yes, sir. I can't hear him either. It's chopping up. It's cutting up.
Yes, it's chopping up.
We can't
It's the
hear you.
internet. That's the signal. Give us a sound check, brother.
I almost hear some wind or something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but it's a little choppy. What you do, log out and come right back in again.
All right.
Log out and then come back in.
All right.
Brother Lance, can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear him choppy. Yeah, there he is.
Brother
He's out.
Lance.
Let me have him. Okay, he's still connected. I gotta let him come back in, but we'll continue talking until he comes back in. That's definitely an internet signal because everything from my end and everybody else is good. So let's hope that he comes back in if he has a link. Okay, there he is again. Let's see how this goes.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Lockhart.
Yes.
Okay, good. That's better. Don't touch anything. Leave it just like that. We'll roll like this.
Okay. Well, I grew up in St. Louis in the 90s, part of the
Almost
gangbang
there.
era. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
It's a little compromised, but it's better than what it was before. So just speak slowly and clearly, like you are.
Okay. Yeah, so I grew up really around the era that was gang affiliated, right? In my household, we had this big picture of Jesus, and I could say it's Jesus now, but when I was young, I see this brother with these locks, with this
Brother
half
Lance.
hoodie on, and he be looking down. And I asked my mama, "Who is that?" She said, "That's Jesus." But I understood
Jamil.
that my mother and them they were Black Panthers. So my mother and all of her brothers and sisters, they was affiliated with the Black Panthers. And so I had this sense of consciousness as well. But over time, the pain and the trauma started to really pile in on itself. And so I gravitated to the individuals that I thought had a solution to the pain that I was feeling. and they just happened to be my peers from the same block and so forth and so on, and we know the rest. So I ended up going to prison for a gang-related shooting, first-degree murder, first-degree assault, 2 armed criminal actions, sentenced to life without parole. I get inside the prison, and it was almost like a lot of the guys that I didn't know, they knew me, right? They knew of me. They had heard my name. So I didn't realize how much trauma I was causing on society. And so ultimately, I got in there. Years down the line, I started to recognize how I had been tricked and bamboozled by a system that was designed to keep us in place. And I always had that kind of rebellious spirit where you can't keep me in place. And once I began to understand that, then I started to take the corrective actions to change who I thought I was. And that led to me learning about myself, learning about Garvey and Malcolm and Noble Drew Ali, of whom I'm still a student of today. And so that's why when you talk about the framework of the Baba Collective, I agree wholeheartedly, because I was in that situation where I wanted the canteen and all of the things that go along with being on a plantation. Well, I had an auntie that wouldn't send me money, but she would pay for college courses for me. And that was her way of saying that I'm not going to give my money to the system. I give it to you. I'm investing you.
Right.
And so I understand wholeheartedly how when people invest in you like they should invest in you and not enable you to continue the trajectory of buffoonery, then ultimately you come out on the other end with a different perspective. And so from doing 26 and a half years from a kid to coming out here, I've been able to accomplish a lot based off what I've learned along this journey and who I have taken in as a basis or a foundation for where I'm going in the future. And so I'm the executive director of a nonprofit here in Columbia, Missouri called Destiny of Hope. And so we work with troubled and at-risk youth and men and women coming out of prison. But I'm also co-owner of the Peace and Hope Center for Youth. And this particular platform is designed to get youth off the street and give them what I didn't have. I'm also CEO and owner of a company called Boys to Men Consulting. And we work primarily with those who are affiliated to help them understand a better way. We never tell them not to join a gang because it would be hypocritical. So the guys that actually facilitate with me, they are former gang members. But the thing is, we're not going to tell you not to join a gang. We're going to tell you what the outcome is when you do. And so we take a different approach. And so all of that is said to come full circle as to why I support this collective wholeheartedly.
Wow. I can tell you that I love you, brothers, and what you're doing, and the spirit
Can
of
you
what
hear
you're
me?
doing. Yeah, you can hear you. I can hear everybody. Yeah. I just want to say how much I
I
appreciate.
can't.
You can't hear me? Let me see. Everything should be.
I don't know what's going on with the
It's got to be
signal.
on his side.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
I
hear
hear you now.
you clear.
You
I
can
hear
hear me now?
you.
Can you hear me? You can't hear me.
I can't hear the
Okay.
brother.
Okay. So continue
But you can hear me
talking.
though, huh?
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
So yeah,
I
it's
can. I
just
can.
with your connection.
Yeah, it's
He
just
can't
my
hear
connection.
who he
Let me see
cannot
what
hear
this
Yeah.
me.
is. It might just be me. But
Yeah,
continue.
let
Continue
me
to
try
talk.
something. I
I
don't
had to
know
come out and come back
because
in
the pictures
because
are
It,
I couldn't
clear.
hear him at
it's
first.
not yours, brother Lockhart. You good? Cause I can hear you well. It's just
Yeah.
your
Okay.
connection with our
Yeah.
brother's connection. That's the whole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But
So he
but
can't hear
continue.
me.
Continue to talk. Continue to
Who you
talk
want to
until I
Yeah.
talk?
figure this out.
I want to and Lockhart
So
mentioned
now
his
I can't
auntie.
hear Takuma either. Can you hear him?
I can hear everybody well.
Okay.
But you can't hear those two?
No, I can't hear those two.
Man, all right.
Okay. Hmm. I
Well,
can
So
see
he's
you.
saying he
yeah, I
can't
heard.
hear y'all two effectively.
Tell him to
Uh,
hold. Well, Lance, can you hear me?
Yeah.
But y'all can hear him though, right?
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I can hear
Let him know
everybody.
we hear him loud and clear.
I can hear everybody.
Right.
Lance can hear
Okay.
everybody.
I can
He
hear
just
everybody.
having a problem with hearing both of y'all. He can hear me for some reason.
Yeah.
Hold on,
I
let
can
me
hear
see
you.
something.
Can you hear me, Lance?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna try this.
Tell him to go out and come back in, Jaleel.
So brother Lockhart, he said to try to go out and come back in again while we continue.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Brother Lance.
Yes. Can you hear
Uh
me?
I really my big brother is really four powers that I introduced to the families that they already have, man. The power of access, the power of resource, the power of narrative, and the power of future access. Much of this, Lonnie mentioned his aunt. I had a brother, I had an aunt, and I had a cousin and a friend who were all my accountability partners, right? They wouldn't just send money, they'd send books all day. When I got on the phone, they wanted to know what I was doing with my time. They were really pressing me to do something with my time. But luckily for me, it began with my older brother. He gave me a book before I left the county jail. And at the time, we were estranged. Him giving me that book not only repaired our relationship, but it introduced me to books. But that accountability was so key. But the four powers, families don't realize and they take for granted that they absolutely gotta support their loved one. In truth, your loved one at that point has already disavowed the family values because none of our families teach us to be crooks. None of our families teach us to be criminals. In fact, most of our families, I would venture to say 98% of our families warn us where we go if we continue on with that behavior. We essentially say, forget them, adopt the behavior of strangers when we venture off into the streets. But the family continue to interact with us and treat us as if we are family. And we are, but we've changed, right? But in truth, once they get there, a couple things should be clear. Number one, your way of loving and supporting your loved one isn't effective or he wouldn't be there because you've been trying to kill him and stop him from ending up in prison the whole time. It didn't work. So his best thinking got him there. He no longer needs to be thinking for all of you, right? Because he got all of you going through what you're going through now. Most prisons is calling home complaining about the very things they worked to get. But now they dragging their families right through it with them. Families have been conditioned to equate unconditional love with unconditional accepting whatever behavior, and that's really destroying us as a community. You got to have that accountability factor in place, and families need to recognize their loved one has victimized, which drugged their name through the mud. I know a person today, man. Her brother recently was convicted of a crime, and people talk about now she out here got to defend her brother, and she get upset, but ultimately you can't blame a victim about how they grieve. The person you really upset with is your brother. It's your brother who puts you in the position where you even gotta feel like you gotta defend the indefensible, right? Because some of our behavior is simply indefensible, but we drag our families through that. But the power of access says, hey man, I control the access to you, right? And the access needs to be conditional on you using your time. The power of narrative. Power of narrative is you speak life or death into everybody you interact with. And a lot of the times, as a community and as families, we fall for the soft bigotry of low expectations. And what do I mean by that? Well, JoJo ain't doing this no more, but he still ain't doing nothing, right? And you satisfied with the
Absolutely.
little he doing because of what he used to do, but he still ain't reaching for what he has the potential to do. So we allow the soft bigotry of low expectations where we don't really push our loved ones, but in truth, the only people we don't hold accountable for more are those without with a mental illness, and those we really don't expect more from. And if we saying we love our loved ones, then we need to be expecting more from them. And the power of narrative is how you do that. You shape and frame how you are interacting with what you're experiencing in a moment. I'll give you a perfect example. I had began studying, and I hadn't said anything to anybody. And I wrote my big brother Carlos, this long letter. I'm supposed 6-7 pages, front and back, telling him this is who I believe, this is who I am. And I was very militant at this time. And man, I'll never forget, I called the brother, and I was anxious to see how he was respond. And he expressed so much hope, so much pride, right? That I was taken aback. I remember literally asking him, bro, hold up. How are you proud of me? And I'm 19 on a life sentence, bro. He said, you are. He said, but that was supposed to defeat you. And it did. It defeated who you were. Because who I'm talking to now is becoming someone completely different. Continue on in that, right? And he didn't know where I was going. He didn't really understand my politics. All he knew was that I was growing beyond who he had previously known me to be. And he used the power of narrative early and often until he no longer had the birth that seed in me. I was watering it myself. I was providing the sunlight through my own thoughts and what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. I think out of all the powers, the power of narrative is the most important, because it's one thing that we don't acknowledge. Our loved ones, when you engage in criminality, it's really because you got a low self-esteem, bro. People who really value the self, they don't jeopardize the self on a day-to-day basis, man. They don't risk the self for the white man's dollar or nothing else for that matter, right? Because you know what you're capable of. Certain things become beneath you. So you need to bring birth because often the family is seeing the best side of their loved one. You need to breathe life into that every day with the power of narrative, and that's one of the powers. The power of future access. Hey, your time is predicated on what you're doing with it, man. You don't get to, because this is another thing. And all these brothers can speak to it, because it's more of us. If our families knew what them brothers in there doing with their time, most of them wouldn't have no support. None. If they knew a woman can't even come in the unit without them touching and pulling on themselves, if they knew all them extra hours of overtime that they working, that money that went to the dope man and they loved one ain't got nothing in this room, they wouldn't be supporting none of that, man. They wouldn't support it at all. And many brothers would have no support, man. But that's the reality of it. And obviously the power of resource. Resources is not just money. Resources sitting there, being that emotional support, being that emotional crutch, taking in and just being there for them. Because it's a very, very lonely world when you can't get on that phone and you left in the complete care of those people, man, when you inside the belly, man. And those are the 4 powers that we introduce the family and the community to, that they already have in place. And if they would activate them, the changes we had would come naturally, because this is the key to it all.
Brother Demetric.
Yes, sir.
I want to make a comment on that point that you're hitting on too.
Yes, sir. I'm going to wrap it up with this.
Yes, sir.
Because this is the key to it all, Brother Lance. It's actually science. What took place in all of us is neuroplasticity. Information repeated over time, rebuilt new neural pathways in our mind. It opened our minds to possibility. And from a mental standpoint, we became someone different, man. That's why we're doing it today. Go ahead, Brother Jamil.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to comment on this point that both brothers already hit on, because it's a core value in this group, in this organization. And that is, we are not supporting the banner of, give money to somebody who's a prisoner, or just woe is me to the prisoner. Although we come from that, we're not singing that song. We're singing a song of, let's really go in and do a metamorphosis. And so, like he's saying with the finances, we all been there. We know that people loved ones are putting money and it's going in the trash can. And so that doesn't mean that they shouldn't send money, but we're not singing a song of telling people, man, send money to your loved one, man. We hurting in there. We doing this. We know that the real effort is in, like brother said, the commodity of time. We need to be utilizing our time more efficiently in there. And the loved ones have other things that they can do to help contribute us in that effort. And so that's kind of where this organization is going. That's going to be a lot different than, typical woe is me groups. So
Okay, and I want to add to that, but I also want to say this: that under those circumstances, what we are actually pushing, it's going to take a lot of work when it comes to brothers on the inside.
for sure.
And I say that because these individuals, not everybody in there can stand alone. So they're always susceptible to somebody else's thinking patterns. They're still, no matter how old they get, peer pressure never absolutely goes away. It just comes in a more sophisticated form. And so under those circumstances, I watch dudes get moved around like pawns just because, right?
Yes,
Not
sir.
because they were bad dudes, not because they didn't want to do the right thing, but because they were afraid. And fear often paralyzes change. When you're afraid of the outcome of stepping away from dudes who moving you around, then ultimately, here you go, right? You become the guppy. You become the individual that's always in the hole, and then you think, oh, I'm tough because I stabbed somebody. I'm tough because I got on dude. Man, you ain't tough. They sent you on a mission and you went. That don't make you tough.
Right.
That make you a fool.
Absolutely.
And so under these circumstances, we have to remember that everybody cannot hold their own. So part of getting them to embark upon this journey of evolution within themselves, I think that is something that must be considered. It must be considered on a greater level, because those are just the facts, bro. They running around on them yards not because they men, not because they can hold their own, but because they think this what other people want them to do.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Mic check. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, I can
sir.
hear you.
Okay, no, continue the conversation. I just saw everything right over here. I don't know what happened, but I'm back. But I hear
Yeah.
all of you.
And to both of the brother points, brother Jamil really, and that's what it is, man. The commodity of time. It's really prisoners are the only people in the world who don't want more time, man. Everybody else wants time to pursue interests, time to spend with their family, time to earn more, time to enjoy life. Prisoners are the only one who don't want more time, and I think that's one of the primary reasons why they don't value it and they waste so much of it. Brothers are literally go for decades just never picking up a book, reading, watching TV. Young and the Restless was big in the joint. You wouldn't think it, but out of in prison, it's
Most definitely.
such a we make we make and we glorify as a culture that even experiencing it. And we make it look easy, but it's really traumatic, man. And you automatically, if you go through that, in order to stay sane, you got to develop a routine in order to allow past seemingly come to a standstill for it to move a little further. And that's what people do. They adopt a lot of things that are necessary. For me, it was books. That's how I spent my time. But everybody does something, right? So
Yeah,
the commodity of
absolutely.
time is really how you utilize it. Is how you go from where you are to where you want to be. If you never use it, then you never go anywhere. And to Lonnie's point, the family, to me, this whole framework, I think as a society, when the family gets here, they feel powerless, right? The individual that's incarcerated, he has a long history. He know how to push buttons. He know how to manipulate. That's kind of the reason why he still got the support that he has, despite he ain't listening to nobody in years, right? Because I got a brother, man. never listened, and we just gave the support. And I remember as a child, him getting locked up for being tripping with my mama, and we going a week later with my mama to see him. Now my mama just was supporting him, but unconsciously she was showing me, dang, if she gonna support him and he don't even listen to her, I know she'll support me, and I do, right? And those were opportunities where we have an opportunity to hold one accountable. Because even to the individual in there, if they got a younger sibling that's watching and seeing all of this take place, you got to kind of weigh it out. Because currently, the incarcerated individual isn't in a position to where he can properly love himself. So it's just a very difficult economy. I think the family has to fill the void of the yard guy, other guy on the yard that's sitting them on the crash dummy. Because I'm a firm believer in one of the things we're going to teach the family. Your loved one is always safe. He can go to PC at any moment. Dudes don't want to wear the shame of getting run off the yard. That's why they're most, and I think the brothers would agree. 99% of the time in prison, when something happened, one of the individuals knew it was coming, right? Because something they did. They had the opportunity to get the protection they wanted. They didn't want to wear the shame because the police will put you over there, but where can't nobody get to. It'd be controlled movement when you move, right? So I think the family, value in the family got to come more important than the value in the guy on the yard. And it got to be a paradigm shift. This, to me, is the way to literally change our community. I can't think of a better, more effective framework that can change our community where we don't need nobody legislation. We don't need nobody funding. We don't need nobody to do nothing. We just got to make a decision.
That's it.
Beautifully said. Let it flow naturally, brothers. Let the conversation flow. It's a beautiful thing.
Okay. I feel a need to just say this. I differ with the point of just where the point of the PC is a safe place. Even though I get the I get the concept I think you're pulling from, I believe, a place where saying that if a person don't want to be harmed, they can go here, you know. But I think we all know that still ain't safe. Like that's because I've seen people harmed by authorities.
Absolutely.
I've seen people harmed even in cells and stuff like that. Like
yeah, I really came from a place, and even when I was in there, bro, I was always aware that all of us sign up for whatever we encounter when we get there, right? And in my mind, you know, like I do, and what the families don't realize, the same guys in prison that people was taking advantage of, smacking or whatever, to somebody, they a tough guy, right? And in my mind, if you jumped off the porch because you thought you was a lion, only find out you was a gazelle, the sooner you become aware of that and change your life, ultimately that's the better off you gonna be, right? I really come from the standpoint because I don't believe that a family should ever pay for protection. Because you know, like I do, you pay once, you're gonna always be paying. So go where the stigma of check-in and check yourself and come back out here and live an accountable, responsible life. Quit acting like you a lion when you ain't. That's really where the standpoint that I came from.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely get the concept. But just being around, especially doing that, I think I did my first 10 in Potosi. And
Q, how many executions? Have you ever looked, Mo?
How many executions?
While you was there?
Bro, I seen so many executions.
I know, because I seen 30 and you was there before I was there. And you stayed
I seen so many. I mean, I seen them go break out the little cube stakes, right? They have a whole party. Right? When somebody being executed, they have a whole party like this is how it's supposed to be. And I understand it's part of the system, right? I mean, you celebrate your brother's accomplishments, right? And so it's designed that way. So I'm not concerned about it because I know this is what it is, and I know this is what they're supposed to be doing. And so my concern is, because even when you start talking about consciousness, as soon as you start talking about consciousness and being aware, then people try to throw the hate label on you, right? Oh, that's hate. No, I don't have time to hate,
Yes, sir.
because I spend my time loving my people, right? Trying to
Absolutely.
help them come from under the circumstance and situation that all these years ago was created for us to be in the condition that we're in now. And so socioeconomic impoverishment is critical out there and in here, right? And so, so when you think about just the concept of people being incarcerated and needing money and needing that, bro, that's what took them to prison,
Mm-hmm.
right? Chasing the bag for the most part. You have very few socio paths that actually just go wake up and commit crimes. Most crimes are conditional.
Absolutely.
It's
Yes, sir.
based off a lack of health care access, right? It's based off of not being able to eat, hunger insecurity. So many of the things that these people go to school to learn about, the 5 determinants of health that makes up the people that go to prison, where we had the opportunity to live that experience and come from under it. And so I know what it's like to be hungry, to open that refrigerator and ain't nothing in there but a box of baking soda, right? Baking soda is designed to keep the food fresh. Ain't no damn food in the refrigerator, right? So I know what it's like to have that feeling. And I also know what it's like to say to myself, I'm going to eat. And so we have to remember that these are the same conditions that were created to level this playing field out. Um, when the Klan was created, it was created to create pressure, right? Not to hang people, not to do all of the things that caused the founder of the Klan to leave, because he left the Klan. He felt like they was doing too much. And so this system is built around that concept. And they're applying pressure every day. So now it's on us, if we really want to come from under these conditions collectively, then we have to do things that the Bible Collective is actually perpetuating. We have to get these families to put more pressure on these guys on the inside to know that, hey, man, society will gobble you, it will eat you up when you come home thinking somebody owe you something. Because in essence, that's what they are creating, an individual that come home thinking somebody owe them something, then they always stay in the survival mode. They never learn to thrive. Well, thriving, this means that you have to invest in something. You have to invest in yourself, in your future, your hopes and dreams, and even your desires. Don't nobody have to give you anything. And I'm gonna tell you, even with the things that I've accomplished, I feel like I haven't done enough because I'm still on parole. Right? So despite everything that I've done, I still got a connection to the system.
Me
And they
too.
don't want to let go. And I ain't mad at them. I just got to figure out how to make them let it go, right? And this is where uh, the picture starts to broaden, because it's really not black and white. It might be black and white on the ends, but in the middle, it's just a big gray area. It's a lot of things happening, a lot of motion, and hopefully, because that's all we can do. We can hope, and because it's certain things that we don't have control over, right? And so it's a greater power. It's a greater power within the universe working that creates these circumstances that allow for us to even be in this place right now. Because I received life without, and if it was up to them, I'd still be in there or probably dead somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
So we have to acknowledge what is, and then do our part to try to circumvent um, a group of individuals that's working in the system. And I'm not going to say individuals by name, but I'm going to say individuals because the system is plug and play. When you sign up to work for the Department of Corrections in any state is plug and play. I don't care what your intentions are, because intentions don't determine impact. You decided when you went in there, you was going to do what the system said do. So there's always mistreatment. There's always the lies. There's always a whole lot of things. And them guys sitting on the inside, yeah, they bothered now because they got caught, most of them. And when you have them personal conversations with them, you can see the good in them, but you can also see that they ain't ready to be free in a society that's waiting on them to come back and contribute to that 3-year recidivism rate that's happening on a wide basis. They don't understand that, because to them, you know, they believe that rigor is where it's at, right? Rigor may create fear, but it can never command love. And so for us that know better, more so than anything, we have to be examples for these families, right? To show them. Because when it's all said and done, dudes on the inside, especially the dudes that's been there with us, they know us, they done been around us. But at the end of the day, if they didn't listen to us when we was in there, what make you think they're gonna listen to us now that we out here? Because that just translate, because most of them gonna turn into haters, especially when you ain't doing what they were doing, right?
Hey Mo, to me, you was talking about applying pressure, right? And I think all of us, I did years in the hole, man. You know what I learned? I didn't need that canteen to survive. That canteen made it more comfortable, right? I'm of the opinion that one thing about it, out here, you might not have no food, clothes, and shelter. Out there, that's guaranteed, right? You may not like it, but that's part of the reason why you shouldn't put yourself in a position where someone is dictating the menu to you, right? To me, that's a leverage that's inherent, right? And anything else, you got to earn that. You got to earn that extra money you want, because the state gonna give you. I know in Missouri they gave a state tip. It was $8.50 if you had a GED, $7.50 if you did, and it may cover the basic for some, for those who didn't like to shower as much, right? But the power of left, because this is the thing about it, brothers, and as a community, until we are holding ourselves accountable, then it's always somebody else or something else we need in order to change. In order for things to be different, it's something beyond who we are, right? And we have the age, and one of the things we got to pay attention to as a community, we all acknowledge the pipeline, but we don't acknowledge the leaders that are placed on it. Our leaders, when they come up, the little brothers that be natural leaders exhibiting their behavior, you know each other. Boy, you bad. We don't tell them, boy, you lead. So we gonna hold you accountable. Oh, boy, you a leader. That's what we supposed to say. What we say is, boy, you bad, right? He just being himself. He ain't trying to organize his peers. He ain't trying to necessarily be defiant. It's just his natural instinct. We supposed to be replacing, boy, you bad, but boy, you a leader. Oh, I gotta hold you to a higher standard because of that. To whom much is given, much is required. So we don't acknowledge our leadership when it get put on that pipeline. But they still leaders, right? That's the leaders that our community produce. And like most honorized, Louis Farrakhan teach that Allah grants the wishes of a people through the womb of the woman, right? Some of these brothers were birthed through the womb, right? That was supposed to be an answer to their family and to their community. That's why they exhibited that natural leadership. It's still there. The family got that leverage.
Hold up, let me log out. In
the literature, brother, we would have been among the meanest and the most reckless.
What you just hit? You just hit something that came back.
We would have read about ourselves.
Okay.
That
I didn't
natural
touch
instinct, they ain't lynching us that way no more. They lynch us through the pipeline. But that leadership is still there. We must honor our own community's natural leaders. And for to me, using that dynamic to realign, because Mo is right. The fear of death, the fear of abandonment, the fear of insanity, they amplify under those circumstances, right? And it's two things that really kind of assuage those for a routine to take your mind off of it, whatever that is, and your family.
Can you still hear him?
But that still is leverage. Okay. We can't let them just do it the way they want to do it. We gotta. about pressure is the pressure. The brothers on their own.
Well, let him make his point.
They glorify, bro. They would end up glorifying not breaking, because I did it, Mo did it, Jamil did it at some point. Where you glorify, you cool with going to the whole in and out, and in your mind, it's just what we do. That same determination, that same resilience, that same grit can be used to go in positive ways, right? So the time more than anything is used to, what am I good at? What am I genuinely interested in? Because if you follow those two things, you're going to find success out for yourself. Ain't no way in heck brothers should be doing all this time and can't answer those two questions. That means that's mismanagement, brother. That is not just oppression. That's mismanagement.
Brother Lockhart couldn't really hear you now.
Did I get kicked off?
No, you're still here. You're still here. Brother Lockhart, could you still hear DEMETRICS?
No, I didn't hear the last part of what he was saying. So yeah, I didn't hear that last part.
DEMETRICS, can you? Okay, he fell off.
Okay.
It's always when you have these positive shows that the technical difficulties continue to keep on coming.
That's all right.
We know why.
We can get back at it, bro.
That's right. Of course, always
get back at it. So that's
right.
kind of the nature of it.
And I want to get, even after the show, your links and information to put with this show so that all that you shared, people can vibe with you and definitely continue to talk. But we got to keep this going on the regular because I love what you're saying and doing. And so many people need to hear this and connect and just to even be inspired to see brothers like yourself that are doing things, not just talking. We're talking now because you are doers, right? We have so many people who are not doers and they're running their mouth all the time. We see them online. We see them on social media. I'm on social media a lot. I talk a lot. But the thing is, I'm a servant for the people who are actually doing things and doing the damn thing out there in the world. You see what I mean? We have too many people who, and you all know who he is. Hit the Cash App, hit the Cash App, hit the Cash App. But what are you doing? You see what I mean?
Hit the Cash App.
And the brother makes some good points.
I got a nephew just hit me today and say, "Hey, you got something on your Cash App?" So I get it.
Right. Well, you know, it's funny because to me, and I want you all to continue to talk about it, I want to say it this way. Social media really was given to us to slowly seduce us because it's one big speed bump to keep our wheels turning for those who don't know, but we're not getting anywhere. You brothers are doing something real. Before, I was born in 63 and I'm 63 on Wednesday. It's funny, the number play, right? I was also rooted by parents who were conscious, born and raised in New York City. I saw it all, right? And I miss those days. But social media has come around and everybody who has this ego, narcissistic thing, who wants to be up on the podium and just attention and ego. But in the world, they're not doing a damn thing. They didn't even read a book. They don't reach out to each other. They're battling. They're separate. You see what I mean? So now we're pointing fingers at each other, talking bad about each other, hating on each other when somebody gets a little more attention. And that's the drug. And that's the big traffic jam, the speed bump that most of us are in. And I'm just so glad to be able to speak to some brothers that rose above that, you see, and did doing real things and coming from where many would say the absolute bottom. For you to come up and have this enthusiasm, foresight, and insight, and to execute, that's an amazing thing, and that's to be celebrated. Yet,
yes, sir.
You
Brother
both,
Lance,
yeah, go ahead.
Brother, you just made me think in two things, actually. And I think that even more reason why this framework is more incumbent right now. Number one, it's an epidemic going on inside the prisons. I equated it's the K2 epidemic in prison today. It's the equivalent of the crack epidemic that once ravaged our communities. That's the impact it's had on the prison for those inside, right? The normal lines of respect for that's been there for years has been eradicated. And brothers is literally turning dope fiends. Now, so the people who have the most time to be focusing and getting on point is doing that. And the people on the outside is lost in the phone. So we lost all the way around, right? Who gonna save us if they introduce the people with the most time to really be critical thinkers and analytical about what's going on? If that's what they doing with their time, and the people out here is constantly getting this endorphin hit that only rewards immediate gratification and not depth, right? As a community, we falling further and further behind because the Malcolms, the Malcolms of the world, what's the brother name? Solo Ice, the George Jacksons of the world, Hugo Yogi Pinellas of the world.
Oh, Eldridge Cleaver.
Eldridge Cleaver. The brothers in the prison have always played a critical role in the consciousness of our community, man. So if the people out here is snoring through the internet with their phones, they've enslaved themselves, because I agree that was the tool it was. And then the brothers in there doing that, then we become so much of the minority at some point we can't even reach nobody, right? Because the flip side of that, in that speed bump, is the immediate access to the whole world, man. That's the crazy part about it.
Yeah. And imagine those who have done so much, the list goes on endlessly. But just pick Malcolm, for example. He did more without a Facebook page.
Right.
He did more without a YouTube channel. You see what I mean? And they got hip to that, and that's how they implement the so-called leaders that they chose, that the enemy chose to put in front of us, because they can speak and they get the endorsements and on TV. So they're like pressure valves. In the Black community, we're supposed to feel the pressure, right? That makes us explosive. But when you choose and pick a Al Sharpton, the agent that he is, to come and rhyme after something happens and talk so-called truth to power, and everybody's, he told him. But then the next weekend, you're back as a sister back in the Korean hair shop. You see what I mean? You running after the other women that ain't yours. And doing the same thing because you feel you have some victory, because those who were put in place, they're allowed to speak truth to power because they're designated to keep the pressure off, and we think that's enough. You couldn't have a bus boycott today. Anybody, I ain't gonna walk the man, shoot. There's no collective. You see what I mean? My concern is still the people that I came up with. I don't know if you know it, Lockhart Bay. Right now, I'm in Ghana, West Africa. This is where we're broadcasting from. But the unity that they're trying to keep it from happening, from those who are here who don't know and who are ignorant to what's going on because they believe the lie of the same enemy. You see what I mean? If we all came together with a united front, the melanated people of the world, we all have the same enemy. They're trying to wipe us. They don't want us together. The whole planet is ours. We're the original. But they are using the internet to make all these different categories. Have Black folks from Brazil saying, "Well, I'm not Black. I'm this. I'm not Black. I'm Puerto Rican." That's a country, man.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I definitely see. Hey, well, I'm gonna say this. You know, colonialism has 3 principles: to befriend, to enslave, to indoctrinate. They executed well, right? When they pulled up and they tricked them people into believing that they were friends, they enslaved them, and then they indoctrinated them, and there was no need for a change. It's just like having a dog that you have trained. You don't need the leash anymore. Right? You can call him and he's at your beck and call. And so right now, as a nation of people, we don't even understand the trick bag. We don't understand that we spending too much time, like you made reference to the women in the Korean shop. We spending too much time trying to be somebody else in order, and not even really fully knowing that everybody else trying to be us.
I said that to somebody today. I said it to a young African lady, Ghanaian lady today. I was talking with her. We didn't even plan the conversation. We got into it deep. I told her she had I saw in the store reaching for the bleaching cream. That's bad out here. Big billboards where you see one face in a line down the middle, one darker and one lighter. And I said, look at you. Look how beautiful your skin is. Chocolate, beautiful, velvety skin. Amazing. And here you are trying to whiten it up. And you see these white women out here sitting out on the beach, trying to get a tan, trying to get your shape. They don't like you for what you have, but they brainwash you to not love who you are. And it's an epidemic out here.
Absolutely.
Don't think it's all conscious people out here, whatever. No, most, they don't have it together.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yes.
And when they try to dispute me, not that I know everything, but we get down after a while, they're walking away. Oh, man. Because I tell them how America is.
Right. But Lance, bringing full circle, I think, again, man, that's why there got to be a reset and not just a repeat. Because that's what it does for. Malcolm, me and the brother was talking before, with another brother. We put Malcolm on the pedestal. I got him on the wall. I love him. I see. Brother, right? He lit that spark in me, right? But he wasn't an anomaly to me, right? As a community, we made him an anomaly. He showed me that he was the method. I can do the same thing he did. And I would venture to argue, myself and the brother have come further than Malcolm. And this is why I tell you, Malcolm wasn't a child killer. Malcolm was a grown man doing it. He didn't, and this is the thing we got to realize. The more messed up you are, the more work you got to do to reprogram yourself, right? So those years of study was necessary, because this is one of the things that made me realize, dang, even though I wasn't seeing myself as a bad guy, that I needed to be there. It dawned on me. I seen something happen to somebody that I didn't think would happen. And it dawned on me, dang, how that happened to him? He grown, been in hurt. I just got here. I'm safe, right? And you only gonna be safe in a maximum security prison if you supposed to be there, right? And I had to acknowledge that about myself. That's the reality of it. Malcolm put in the work. We put in the work. Every brother got the same amount of time. If they put in that work, they'll have the same results. But the more messed up you are, the more work you're going to have to do to reprogram and deprogram, because you've been essentially wired and work to do what you do. We watch brothers every day. I'm gonna kill this brother because he stepped on my shoe. But here comes the man, lock you up. Now, I imagine the life sentence is much more overwhelming than if somebody stepping on your shoe. If you ready to kill about somebody stepping on your shoe but not losing your freedom, that's a programming, man. It's a programming to reach not realize as a hustler, you work more than any entrepreneur. You work like an entrepreneur. You working around the clock. All they gotta do is have the money. You could be doing that towards something legitimate, the way you ain't looking over your shoulder. To not be able to connect these simple dots and make the math 1 + 2, 1 = 2, that's all effects of the colonialism. And we got to use that time to reprogram our minds, man. Because most people who see me today are astounded because who they thought I was, because of how messed up I was at. So I would venture to say, and it's millions of brothers, not just myself and the Mo, who did the same level of work as Malcolm, and we need to recognize our leadership. And I'm not saying I'm Malcolm, I'm not saying he's Malcolm. I'm saying we've done the same level of transformation to change who we were to who we are that brother did. And the proof is how we live our lives today. That brother was supposed to die in prison, and my paperwork said the same thing. We get out on 999, 9999999. Ain't that what it said, Mo?
That's what it said.
So that's what it is. So, but here we are out here living productive citizens, and not only that, trying to give back and making a difference in our community. That don't happen without us putting in that effort. Same way the brother did, and he was a beacon of hope for all of us. That's why he on my wall.
And I'm gonna say this before I go, because I got to get to dinner.
Yes, sir.
My wife cooking, so I'm gonna say this. I think ultimately we collectively we have to start honoring our leaders while they live. It's just like Martin Luther King. They love him now, but they hated him when he was on Earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what he did was challenge the status quo, and despite him sharing the religion, that's what really made him mad, pissed him off. That you supposed to believe like I believe, and you challenging me. You're not doing the song and dance like others, right? So we all have different methods to come to. I don't necessarily agree with everything Martin Luther King did, and I don't necessarily agree with everything that Malcolm did, right? And so what I feel like is that we need to take from our past, and we take this information from this experience of these leaders who came, from Marcus Garvey to Jack Hendrick Clark to, you can go on down the line to David Walker, and you take this information and you do what you need to do to better yourself in your community. That's why they lived before us. Right? That's part of the experience, to take what they did and not just fall into the fray and say, I'm going to do it exactly like they did it. Even Noble Drew Ali said to imitate and emulate I, the prophet. Right? To emulate means to exceed. It's things that he's seen, but in the time period, he wasn't able to get it to come to light because of the opposition. Well, we in a different time period now. And we do have the world at our disposal, right in the sense of a phone. So what do we do with this information now? There is no reason for people to walk around and almost sleepwalk in ignorance. There is no reason for this. So that lets me know that there is a lack of motivation to be bigger than the moment. Everybody trying to hide themselves in a closet or in a crowd. Because if you believe that everybody is doing this, then somehow you don't have to answer or be accountable for your own behavior. And this is crystal clear to me now. It's actually happening in real time. And I'm going to tell you, it even happened amongst the so-called leadership. That's a big problem amongst so-called leaders. And they don't, being a leader don't mean just speaking out about everything. And one thing I learned from Noble Drew Ali, that wise sentences are uttered in due season. Not everything you see, you got to even comment on. Right? Because what you do, because you spoke about Napoleon Hill, and I too am a student of Napoleon Hill. And one thing that I learned from him is that you have to create a mystique around yourself, right? If you talk all the time, your message become less effective. Because this is what people do. We got a lot of talking heads. We got the Rush Limbaughs, and we got the Sean Hannitys and the Rachel Maddows. And I don't care how much truth you tell, ultimately people gonna tune out. And so this is why we have to be careful when we even opening our mouth to speak, especially to a generation of young people who really don't like to learn. They like to breeze through. And it's got to start with the younger people. See, the older people, there's a sense of maturity that come along with them saying, well, you know what? Yeah, you might be right. It's easier to change, to evolve, because they've lived and they've had the opportunity to see different things. But these young people that we have to get to, that's actually going to be the catalyst for where we go as a nation of people. It's a different tack with them, bro. It's a whole different tack with them, because they don't even see themselves. We in a generation where now it's being promoted that somehow you genderless.
Yeah.
You got the kids, you got guys walking around with, you know, I mean, the pants tighter than the females, right? They got all this long hair all in their faces, and it's like, but this is Americanism for you. And so this does not comport with us growing into manhood. These young men are sharing all the emotional states of their counterparts, right? They sharing these emotions just like they sharing clothes. It's a problem, bro, that's bigger than that. And that's why when they get into prison, they don't really know what's going on because they don't understand that world at all. It's nothing like they have been taught. So I think we, you know, even in working with these families on this collective, I think we have to do more when it comes to working with these young people, these young men and these young women, because in many cases the roles are reversed. Because I've come in contact with a lot of women and they just way too tough for me, man. They super hard. I mean, it's just like, come on, man, what you doing? Right?
Masculine energy.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you sagging. Why you sagging, right? I'm not really understanding the concept. But at
Right.
the end of the day, this is what's happening. So we have to do a better job. If that's what you own, that's fine. I'm good with that. But that
Right.
has nothing to do with your mindset, right? Your mentality is what's going to take you further. And so one of the oldest things that I've seen hanging in school since I was a kid, that your attitude determines your altitude. That is probably the one thing that I got out of school that still holds true today.
Right.
Right? Because no matter where you are in your life, if your attitude is shitty, ain't nobody want to deal with you, man.
That's right.
Period. If they can help you to the next level, but you got this attitude like you just got it together, nobody is going to help you to the next level. Nobody
right.
gets anywhere without everybody else. So even with the audience, if people don't buy into your concept, you ain't got nothing. You're
Right.
talking to yourself, right? And
Exactly.
so we have to know that our attitude when it comes to this is to be more inclusive, less judgmental, but yet informative. And you let people make the choice
Yes.
of what they want to do, because that's why the system exists. When you what happened in the Wild Wild West, right? When they caught outlaws, they hung them at high noon, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened when you step out of law. That's what the system is designed for. And we're trying to keep you from the system because the system has no mercy.
That's right.
And this is what I'm saying. We have now put ourselves in the hands of people that have no mercy in them. And then we find ourselves complaining about conditions. Where the conditions are what they are. You gave yourself over
That's right.
to a monster.
Absolutely.
So it's not his fault. It's not the system's fault. It's your fault. And it don't take money to make that decision not to be a buffoon.
That's right.
So yeah, I enjoyed this conversation. I hope we have many more because
Yes.
I think this is something that's needed.
Yeah.
And I want to hear from the people, right? I want to hear what they actually think so we can have
Right.
informative conversation.
Exactly.
Right? Because
Quality.
information is critical. And if most people use the term that knowledge is power. Well, I like to say, as Napoleon Hill said it, that when you can make the knowledge practical,
That's when it's power.
then it's power.
Right.
See, because people know a lot of things, but they don't know how to use it, so it ain't no power. It's just sitting there. And so empowerment looks like execution. So,
Wow.
but I appreciate you, brothers, man.
Yes. Yes. And definitely enjoy the meal. You fed us just the same way you're about to go home and eat. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I know Demetrix, you may want to say some more. I know our brother Lockhart Bay has to go,
Yes,
but
sir.
we gotta do this repeatedly because I don't censor anybody.
Yeah,
I'm
well, we
with
definitely,
everything that you say. Trust me.
want to get the message out. We got to be proactive and not constantly be reactive to what's going on in our community. At
That's
some
right.
point, again, the blueprint has been there. The method has stared us in the face for 60 years,
Mhm.
and we continue to ignore it and act like we are powerless to do anything about it. And I would challenge anyone to come up with a better solution for the crime problem. The people in our communities that commit crimes, they owe a debt to their family and to the community, and they got to go in there and get their minds right and come back and repay that debt. A check won't solve our problems, but that internal restoration will, man. And
Yes.
I go to the BibleCollective.org and find out more about the Bible Collective. But we build it. We can definitely do this many as you want. And like Lockhart Bay said, I would like to hear from the people as well, man. Because we trying to build something for the people that gives the people the power to decide what comes next.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.
Let me know when you're ready to do this again.
Yes, sir.
We can go on in.
We'll
deeper.
go from there.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely want to hear more.
Better situated where we all got the Wi-Fi, make sure we good. Because I got
Right.
times.
But we still overcame those little obstacles,
Absolutely.
those little technicalities. There's no problem that's going to happen. But the main thing is that we got everything out. And it was very digestible. It's like I said, like you said, brother, about knowledge is power. I say it on a culinary level, like you're about to enjoy. It's not what you eat, it's what you absorb.
Absolutely.
The nutrition that you absorb. So people can throw information at you, but if they don't prepare it in a way that you can absorb it, it means nothing.
Absolutely.
I'll shut up after that.
All right.
All right,
So,
brother.
yes, let me know, brother. Let me know when you're ready to do it again. Bring everybody on in. Brother Lockhart, I appreciate you. Enjoy the meal.
Yes, sir.
I'm about to get down soon and do the same thing myself.
All right. Me too. Y'all making me home. All right, brother.
All right, brothers.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Come on.